Good morning and welcome to the Relaunch webinar for single-family heat pump water heater incentives. As we begin to get underway, we'd like to share that this webinar will be recorded and hosted on our Tech YouTube channel and shared out over email to all enrolled contractors. For our webinar today, please use the Q&A function here in Zoom after topics have been presented. We will have members of the team answering as many questions in real time as possible. There will be opportunities for direct feedback at the end of the presentation, and you can use the Zoom function to raise your hand and will receive the prompt to unmute. Helpful links to resources discussed during this presentation will be shared in the chat. Today we will start with a quick overview of the relaunch, then we will spend a bulk of time discussing the details of all of the program updates that are new compared to the prior round of single-family heat pump water heater funding. Next, we'll discuss some important program and claim rule reminders, and we'll close out with an overview of what's new on the incentive claim form. Please note that we are not discussing a full comprehensive overview of all program rules, since many are unchanged compared to the prior round of heat pump water heater funding. For a comprehensive overview, please see the Contractor Knowledge Base article titled Heat Pump Water Heater Incentives Single Family. This December 10th relaunch will release the rest of the incentives that the program currently has remaining for single-family heat pump water heater projects. Regardless of income, all Californians residing in a single-family household are eligible for the new heat pump water heater incentives as budget remains. As a reminder, single-family means projects affecting no more than one unit, though homes with an ADU are also eligible. We are also planning to release small multifamily heat pump water heater incentives, both market rate and equity incentive levels, soon. Small multifamily heat pump water heater will be a new streamlined process available for projects affecting 10 or fewer dwelling units that can be completed within 120 days instead of 1 year. Please remember that projects cannot be sold before the launch date, while customers' terms and conditions must be signed on or after the launch date, and the invoice must be dated on or after the launch date. There are no new contractor enrollment or training requirements for the single-family heat pump water heater relaunch. The main changes are summarized on this slide, and next we will dive into the details of all of these updates. We will begin here under What's New for Tech's single-family heat pump water heater program updates. Incentive levels are now differentiated between NorCal and SoCal. In NorCal, which includes PG&E electric and public-owned utilities, or POUs, above the PG&E SCE territory line, the single-family base level incentive has been reduced from $3,100 to $1,100. In SoCal, which includes SCE, SDG&E Electric, and public-owned utilities below the PG&E SoCal Edison territory line, the base level is unchanged or at $3,100. The heat pump water heater incentives single-family contractor knowledge base article includes the map shown on this slide as well as the full list of electric utilities broken down by NorCal versus SoCal. The Switches On Incentive Finder tools for contractors and customers also link to the list of the utilities. There are no other changes to incentive levels compared to the prior round of heat pump water heater funding. The tank size, electrical, and low GWP refrigerant kickers are still the same. Here are the full incentive details. Take a quick look. The single-family incentives flyer on the Switches On Incentive Resource page will be updated before December 10th to reflect the new incentives. Please note that no equity incentives are left, but these single-family incentives are available to everyone regardless of income. Contractors who have participated in the previous round of heat pump water heater funding will recall that demand response enrollment was previously required for tech heat pump water heater incentives. However, this documentation requirement is new. Previously, We accepted just an attestation from the customer on their terms and condition document that they would sign up, and we would verify enrollment on the back end after paying the incentive. Going forward, to ensure high rates of enrollment, contractors must upload proof that the customer has enrolled in an eligible demand response program to the claim form before submitting for payment. The Demand Response Requirements knowledge base article has everything you need to know about these rule changes and how to be successful with the Demand Response Enrollment Requirement, which includes information and guidance from other contractors for customer conversations regarding demand response, strategies to address potential enrollment challenges, links to flyers tailored to both HVAC and heat pump water heater customers, information on the contractor referral platform for the most popular enrollment option, OhmConnect, and examples of allowable images to upload to the claim form. At a high level, image must include customer's name or email, either in message from program or visible in the forwarded email header information from the customer. Here in this slide, we have some examples. First is an email to the customer from OhmConnect. Second is a screenshot from within the customer's OhmConnect profile. And third is an email from SMUD's My Energy Optimizer program. In all cases, the customer's name must be shown, and for example, in the body of the email or in the forwarded email header information. Personal information is blocked out here for privacy, but when you submit the image to our secure online incentive portal, you should not block out any of the personal information. For contractors that are new to presenting information about demand response, we'd like to offer some information that leads to encouragement. We have talked to many contractors who have had great success in helping their customers enroll in demand response programs. Some have already been voluntarily uploading the now required documentation, and 75% of those who have responded to our August 2024 survey said that they were comfortable talking to their customers about enrolling in demand response. As a reminder, demand response is a positive thing, and contractors have found success in emphasizing its benefits. Residential demand response enrollment has no risks to the customers and can only help them. All programs offer some form of incentives or reward for enrollment and participation. In addition to the financial benefits customers receive, participation in a demand response program helps even out the demand on the electricity grid. When people do this, it can help make California's energy cleaner and more reliable while we continue to electrify. See the Tech Demand Response site for more information on benefits and answers to frequently asked questions. Contractors should contact their account manager or tech.contractor@energy-solution.com with any questions or if help is needed. There is now a new enrollment requirement for customers to enroll in the Water Heater Rewards program available to them. Currently, there are two water heater rewards programs, one called Water Saver, which is available to all PG&E Electric customers, and one called Smart Shift Rewards, which is available to all SoCal Edison Electric customers. This includes all customers who receive their electricity bill from PG&E or SCE, including those enrolled with a community choice aggregator. What is a water heater rewards program? You may have heard of these programs referred to as water heater load shifting programs. These programs pay incentives to customers who enroll and allow the program to shift water heater electricity usage to lower cost times of the day. Customers will have hot water whenever they need it without paying the highest prices for electricity. So let's talk about how these water heater reward programs work. When a customer enrolls and connects their heat pump water heater to a water heating rewards program, the program sends a signal to the water heater using a Wi Fi or cellular connection to fully heat the tank before each day's time of use rate peak period, while electricity prices are lower and power from renewable energy sources are abundant. This way, the water heater is less likely to use electricity during the most expensive peak hours. During the peak period, the program signals the water heater to avoid heating water unless needed. Customers will benefit from these programs by paying less for electricity used to heat their water, earning a $50 enrollment bonus and $5 for each month that they stay enrolled and participate, and take advantage of electricity created by renewable sources like solar and even out demand on the electricity grid. This helps make California's electricity cleaner and more reliable. We'll talk more about your roles as the contractor in helping customers sign up in a few slides from now. The new knowledge base article, Water Heater Rewards Program Enrollment Requirement, has everything you need to know, including how these programs work and how to help the customer successfully enroll. There is also a new section of the customer's terms and conditions where they will agree to this new requirement, and that section also includes a link to the customer facing website about water heater reward programs. It includes information on how these programs work and answers to frequently asked questions, including why both demand response and water heater rewards enrollment is required, the difference between water heater rewards program and the time of use schedule that the contractor has to set up on the water heater, how data is used, and how they can opt out of receiving signals on any given day. We'd like to make it crystal clear that the water heater rewards requirement is in addition to the prior requirements of demand response enrollment, time of use rate enrollment, and the time of use rate schedule setup. This table clarifies which customer needs to enroll in what, depending on their electric utility. As a reminder, the heat pump water heater must be scheduled to follow a time of use rate for customers of all utility service areas, and contractors still need to upload a screenshot of that rate setup to the incentive claim form. We'll talk about the SMUD asterisk in a couple slides from now, and this table here also included in the contractor knowledge base article titled Heat Pump Water Heater Incentives Single Family. Also, we've talked about demand response and water heater rewards program in the prior slides. And if you need a refresher on the customer time of use rate enrollment requirement or the requirement to set up the heat pump water heater to follow a time of use rate schedule, there are knowledge base articles about both of those as well. Let's talk a little bit about why all of the requirements are included. The Water Heater Rewards Program is required in addition to the Demand Response Program enrollment because they provide different ways to align electricity usage with the availability of cleaner, cheaper electricity. The Water Heater Rewards Program specifically optimizes the water heater for daily load shifting to lower costs of heating water. Demand response programs can help optimize other various electricity uses. By participating in both, customers can earn more rewards and benefits to make a bigger impact in supporting a cleaner and more reliable electricity grid. The water heater rewards enrollment is required in addition to the time of use rate schedule that the contractor sets up locally on the water heater with the manufacturer app at the time of installation. The rewards program can provide a more customer tailored approach for more bill savings and more impactful grid benefits, while the time of use rate schedule will still provide the customer with bill savings even if the water heater does not receive signals from the program. Please note that in some rare cases, a participant's own customized schedule may be more appropriate for them than the schedule set by the Water Heater Rewards program and the time of use rate schedule that the contractor sets up locally after the installation. If you believe that this applies to one of your projects, please reach out to the tech.contractor@energy-solution.com email address requesting an enrollment exemption to allow the customer to use a customized schedule of their choice. These requests will be considered carefully, and in the event that the request is approved, the customer still needs to use a custom schedule that reduces energy usage during peak hours. If you believe a rare exemption is required, please be sure to request that ahead of the installation. In the event that the exemption is not approved, you will still need to submit a screenshot of the time of use rate schedule setup, which can be difficult to help a customer do if you've already completed the installation and have left that job site. What are the roles of the customer and contractor for each of these three enrollment requirements and for the time of use rate schedule setup? It is important for you, as the contractor, to understand your role with regards to these requirements. There is a knowledge base article with more information on each of the 4 bullet points as shown on this slide. If you have questions after reviewing these resources, please reach out to tech.contractor@energy-solution.com. For all the enrollment requirements, time of use, demand response, and water heater rewards, the customer will specifically agree to the requirements by checking boxes on the Tech Customer Program Terms and Conditions, which they will need to sign. The terms and conditions contain links and QR codes to customer facing pages about TOU, demand response, and water heater rewards programs for customers to learn more information, find answers to frequently asked questions, and review their enrollment options. If the customer doesn't have an eligible TOU rate or DR program or heat pump water heater rewards program in their area as listed on our websites, then the enrollment requirement does not apply to them. However, they still need to check the boxes since the language includes if one is available in my area. Contractors will need to confirm that all the necessary boxes on the terms and conditions are checked and that there are no missing signatures or information, or else the incentive cannot be paid. For the customer time of use rate enrollment, the customer must agree to be transitioned to a time of use rate if they are not already on one. Most Californians are already on one, especially those who already have solar or an electric vehicle. From there, we coordinate with their utility to have them transition to a time of use rate. No further action is needed from the customer or contractor unless the utility account number or meter number was incorrect. For the demand response program enrollment, all customers must actively enroll in a qualifying demand response program. We cannot facilitate this on the back end the way we do for time of use rate enrollment. Customers will likely be unfamiliar with the concept of demand response, and the contractors are encouraged to familiarize themselves with demand response and the program options so that they can best help their customers through that enrollment process. Contractors will likely want to recommend one or two programs that will likely be best for the customer based on their location and priorities and send the customer a direct enrollment link. As discussed earlier, contractors will need to collect verification of demand response enrollment to upload into their incentive claim form. For the water heater rewards program enrollment, similarly to the demand response enrollment, the customer must actively sign up, and the contractor should be prepared to answer questions and walk the customer through their enrollment process. Contractors do not need to upload verification of the enrollment to the claim form, but it is in the contractor's best interest to help the customer enroll. The online application form only takes a few minutes to fill out, and for REAM customers, there is even an easier way to sign up via their EcoNet app. It's perfect timing for the contractor to help the customer enroll right after the installation, as the application form asks the same information from the contractor that they have just collected on their tech claim. For example, the customer utility account information, heat pump water heater make, model, serial number, and the customer's time of use rate preference. For all non-REAM customers, an additional plug-in communication module is required for finishing the enrollment, which is provided at no cost by the rewards program. Contractors can streamline this process for PG&E customers by contacting the Water Saver team to receive a batch of devices for free. See the knowledge base article for more details. If customers don't sign up right away, the rewards program will reach out to them directly, asking them to enroll and connect their water heater. Contractors can avoid being contacted by the customer for help by proactively helping the customer complete this requirement. Here we'll talk about an update to SMUD demand response requirement, or customers of Sacramento Municipal Utility District. SMUD customers must enroll in a demand response program in order to receive tech heat pump water heater incentives. However, unlike in the electric IOU territories, there are no demand response programs that are open to 100% of SMUD customers. Customers in SMUD service territory who are ineligible to enroll in either of SMUD's demand response program for residential, which is an estimated 15% of SMUD customers, are now eligible for tech heat pump water heater incentives. Under the prior round of heat pump water heater incentives, customers who were unable to enroll in one of SMUD's two eligible demand response program options were ineligible for heat pump water heater incentives. SMUD's two eligible demand response programs are Peak Conserve, which is an AC cycling program, and My Energy Optimizer, or MEO, which is a smart thermostat program. There are a handful of reasons that the estimated 15% of SMUD customers are not eligible to enroll in either of these two program options. First, customers on a medical equipment discount (MED) rate are ineligible for both programs. Customers are ineligible for peak conserve if they are renters and or they do not have a central AC. Customers are ineligible for My Energy Optimizer if they do not have a MEO eligible smart thermostat such as Ecobee, Sensi, Nest, Honeywell, or do not have Wi-Fi, or on a budget billing program. Note that for heat pump water heater projects only, we are not asking contractors to install a smart thermostat in order to make their customer eligible for My Energy Optimizer. Customers who are eligible for either of the programs must enroll in that program, but if they are ineligible for both, then they can get the Tech heat pump water heater incentive without enrolling. To note a SMUD demand response enrollment exception on the claim form, you will need to answer the following question. Did the customer enroll in a demand response program? Choose not eligible, SMUD only. For the question, why isn't this SMUD customer eligible to enroll in a demand response program? You will need to choose from a drop down list the specific reason or combination of reasons that that customer is not eligible. Please remember, the majority, or roughly 85% of SMUD customers, are eligible to enroll in one of SMUD's two demand response program options. If they are eligible, they must enroll. We will be reviewing responses to make sure contractors are not using this pathway as an easy way out to demand response enrollment requirements. You can find more details on the Demand Response Requirements Knowledge Base article. The TechLink California Customer Terms and Condition document has some key updates. Contractors must use this new version. This is now the same document that is used for TechLink California HVAC incentives. If contractors have a previous copy of this document saved, downloaded, or bookmarked, they should be sure to replace it with the newest version, which has been updated with the required language for the Tech Heat Pump Water Heater Incentive Program. Claims using the old version of the document will be rejected. Contractors or designated applicants who have integrated the tech terms and conditions into their own contract need to update those terms and conditions and must use the entire terms and conditions even if some fields also appear in their own contract. Terms and condition uploads with missing pages and or sections will not be accepted. As a summary of the updates, the Demand Response Enrollment Confirmation section has been moved from Section 2 to Section 1, and the account holder must sign here. There was a new Data Donation section. The Water Heater Rewards Program Enrollment Confirmation has been added as a new section. All customers must check the box, regardless of who their electricity provider is. And finally, there is a new field where customers must write in the name of their electric utility. As a reminder, the electric utility account holder needs to fill out and sign Section 1 and 2, and the customer needs to fill out Section 3. The customer is the person or party whose name is on the invoice. In some cases, the account holder may be different from the customer, and in that case, both parties need to sign the terms and conditions. Please note, as always, the document must be signed and dated on or after program launch. Now, for some budget updates and important reminders. All single-family tech heat pump water heater incentive funds will be drawn from one easy-to-read statewide budget. There will no longer be separate budgets for utility territories or any differentiation between market rate and income qualified customers. TechClean California budgets are tracked and updated on the incentive budget report, which has been updated to show the upcoming relaunch funding. Remaining budget amounts can change quickly, so it is important to check this page regularly. Funding is always allocated on a first come, first served basis and only to projects with complete reservations. A reservation is only considered complete and valid if it contains a fully filled out and signed copy of the tech customer terms and conditions, the customer name and address, the signature date of the tech customer terms and conditions where prompted in Iris, the signature date must fall within the active date range of the program. It is your responsibility to monitor the budgets and to not overpromise the availability of incentives to your customers as the budget diminishes over time. We will aim to provide a notice of the last day to reserve incentives, but no reservation or submission is guaranteed to be funded until the budget impact is clear, even before the last day is announced. As a reminder, this relaunch will release all of the program's remaining incentive funding for single family heat pump water heater projects. No additional single family heat pump water heater funding is anticipated after this is fully reserved. We may need to stop taking in reservations when there is a higher budget percentage remaining than most past budget announcements. It is of the utmost importance that you create your reservation as soon as your customers have signed the tech customer terms and conditions. There is a strict rule that all tech heat pump water heater incentives must be paid by the end of 2025. Because of this, we will be enforcing the following strict claim submissions and correction deadlines. All projects must be completed and claims must be submitted with correct pre processing information by August 31st, 2025. We have to share all projects with the pertinent utilities for time of use rate enrollment confirmations by August 31st, 2025. This means all initial processing or pre processing errors that we shared in the Relaunch Knowledge Base article must already have been corrected by August 31st, 2025. These are the types of errors that mean a claim cannot be passed to the utility for time of use confirmation. For example, incorrect meter ID or utility account number, incorrect customer terms and conditions, and more. If we have to reject a claim for these pre processing type errors after August 31st, 2025, it cannot be resubmitted. Contractors, especially those who frequently have to resubmit claims because of pre processing rejections, should submit all claims well before the August 31st, 2025 deadline. All subsequent correction requests, flags for items identified after pre processing, must be addressed and resolved by October 31st, 2025. There are no changes to equipment eligibility except that air to water heat pumps will no longer be incentivized under the Heat Pump Water Heater Incentive Program and instead will be incentivized using the Heat Pump HVAC Incentive Budget. We will begin accepting reservations for air to water heat pumps on December 10th, 2024 for projects under contract on or after November 12th, 2024. These projects will use the HVAC incentive budget but will be reserved outside of IRIS. For more information on air to water heat pump project requirements and incentive rates, including where the qualifying products list and reservation link will be located, please see the email that was sent out on December 3rd. A few equipment reminders. See the Heat Pump Water Heater Incentives Single Family Knowledge Base article for a refresher on heat pump water heater equipment eligibility. Please check the program qualifying products list before purchasing equipment. If you believe the equipment should qualify but isn't on our list, reach out ahead of time so we can be sure to get IRIS updated before your submission if needed. Now we'll move into key reminders, focusing on common errors and clearing confusion. Before you submit new claims, please consider these claim reminders carefully. We're including them here since contractors often make mistakes on these aspects of claim reservations and submissions. As discussed earlier during the budget slide, create a reservation as soon as the customer signs the terms and conditions so that the funding is considered reserved. To be considered a valid reservation, claims must include the customer's name, address, terms and conditions signature date, and a fully signed terms and conditions document uploaded. Reservations missing any of these are subject to rejection without notice. Please be sure to click Save when creating reservations rather than just letting the system auto-save. Claims must be completed and submitted for review prior to the expiration reservation period. The reservation expiration period has been updated from 90 days to 120 days. While we do allow for extensions to accommodate certain circumstances beyond the control of the participating contractor, contractors need to have a good reason for why the project could not be completed in the 120-day timeline. Extensions to the reservation period prior to claim submission must be requested at a minimum of 15 days prior to the expiration of the 120-day reservation period, and evidence must be provided to show that the participant has completed all steps within their control. Reservations that are allowed to expire after funding has been fully reserved lose funding permanently and cannot be recreated. Reservations are for a specific customer, not a job. We ask that you do not edit existing reservations to change the address or name, but instead delete and create a new one. Contractors must address correction requests in a timely manner. Stagnant claims may be permanently rejected after 120 days of inactivity. Claims that are rejected due to a correctable error, anything that does not preclude project eligibility, may be resubmitted even after the budget is fully reserved. Once the claim gets submitted to us, here are the most common reasons why a claim might get rejected or fail pre-processing, and the most common corrections we might request once the TOU rate has been confirmed with the utility. As a reminder, the program team needs to confirm that certain parts of the claim information are correct before we can send the project info to the customer's utility for time of use rate confirmation. At this stage, we often have to reject claims for the reasons listed here. This is extra important to keep in mind with our August and October 2025 submission and correction deadlines. One of the most common errors is an incorrect utility account number. The terms and conditions clarify for each utility which number is used, and the appendix of the heat pump water heater incentive single family knowledge base article has images showing where to locate that number on each utility bill. The required account number varies by utility. For example, SCE needs service account number, and PG&E needs the service account ID, which is not on the first page of the bill. If you are comfortable asking for a copy of the customer's electric bill, you could pre-fill the correct account number in for the customer, or when you're on site, you can ask them for a copy of their bill to review for account number accuracy. The demand response and time of use handout flyer we're providing for you to give to your customers asks them to have their bill available when you arrive. This flyer will be linked to the on-demand response requirements knowledge base articles by the time of relaunch. As a reminder, the claim processing timeline can be decreased if you provide the most recent customer electric bill, including their current rate, especially if they are already on a time of use rate. If you do wish to provide a bill, please make sure it is the most recent bill and that you include all pages of the electric bill. For those that have projects in the Central Coast, there are a few tweaks to the 3CE Electrify Your Home program. Incentives on the slide are inclusive of tech. There is no difference between NorCal and SoCal for 3CE customers. 3CE customers are the only ones with increased LMI or low to moderate income incentives available, and will be switching back to CARE FARA enrolled instead of the heat pump water heater income verification portal. Grid-connected heat pump water heaters will now also require proof of demand response enrollment and water heater rewards program enrollment, just like tech. There's also some guidance in our December 3rd email and launch article of how to successfully submit a 3CE claim with all of the IRIS claim form changes and dependent claim extensions, especially non-grid connected heat pump water heaters. Please take a look at that before begin submitting your projects again. As mentioned in the last slide, incentives are inclusive of tech. There is no difference between NorCal and SoCal for 3CE customers, and there are increased incentives available for customers on CARE or FARA rates. Other than a slight eligibility update, incentive rates are otherwise unchanged. The electrical incentives are also slightly different for the connected pathway. They both have the same qualifications, but the connected pathway has electrical incentives capped at 50% of electrical costs. Non connected electrical incentives do not have that same cap. In regards to partnering heat pump water heater programs through Bayren's midstream, this will also be emailed out to you, but we want to make sure that Bayren area contractors are aware of some key program updates. Bayren will stop accepting new applications on March 14th, 2025, or January 29th, 2025 if applying for tech as well and the bill provided doesn't confirm time of use rate enrollment. All corrections must be completed by April 11th, 2025, and all claims will be paid out by the end of April. Starting December 10th, all Bayren claims will require a customer's PG&E utility bill along with their application to qualify for Bayren incentives and to submit their claim. This bill must include a line indicating that the customer receives service from one of the eligible power agencies, such as Clean Power SF, Silicon Valley Power, and Ava Community Energy. Just like with 3CE, there is also some guidance in our December 3rd email and launch article about how to successfully submit a Bayren only claim that we highly suggest reviewing. Contractors participating in Bayren Midstream will be identified on the Switches On Find a Contractor tool. Contractors who enrolled in Bayren Midstream, as well as tech enrollment, will now have a Bayren badge on their contractor card in the Switches On. This tool will allow contractors to identify as tech and Bayren participating contractors and customers to better search for enrolled contractors in their area. The formerly used Bayren Find an Energy Professional tool was changed to include home energy score assessors only in October 2024, which is why the Switches On Find a Contractor tool has integrated Bayren Midstream heat pump water heater contractors. As a reminder for first hour rating requirements, we wanted to ensure to remind everyone of first hour rating requirements since contractors have had some trouble with this one. Heat pump water heaters must be sized at a minimum to meet California Plumbing Code first hour rating requirements. Please refer to the table on this slide and in other program resources. We will be asking for number of bedrooms and bathrooms on the incentive claim form and cannot approve incentives for undersized heat pump water heaters. Larger is always encouraged but not enforced. Please follow manufacturer sizing guidelines and then double check that the size recommendation meets the plumbing code minimum. If a home is larger than any of the configurations on the table, then the first hour rating must be at least 74 gallons. If the home has a configuration that does not follow the first hour rating table, please reach out to tech.incentives@energy-solution.com to coordinate with our team for the submission process. For IRIS claim form updates, there are some changes to the IRIS incentive claim form for this round of heat pump water heater funding. For contractors still resubmitting corrections for old claims with valid reservations, we've shared detailed instructions on how to successfully submit your claim based on these changes that have happened in IRIS. Please see the email we sent out on December 3rd, where we link to a Relaunch knowledge base article for more details. Those that are participating in the HVAC program may have seen this, but the IRIS incentive claim form now has dependent claim fields. This means that depending on the answer to a question, another question might appear or disappear. This means it's now even easier to submit a claim in IRIS, knowing what fields are required and which ones are not. In the example on the slide, to the response to the question, did the customer enroll in a demand response program? We'll determine which question comes up next. If the answer is yes, contractors will need to choose which demand response program the customer enrolled in and upload proof of that enrollment. If the answer is not eligible, SMUD only, the contractor will need to select the reason that the SMUD customer isn't eligible to enroll in a demand response program. Aside from the examples shown on the previous slide, here are the other dependent claim extension examples from the claim form updates that will go live on December the 10th. A yes To the answer whether the customer is a BayREN or 3CE customer will open additional questions. If the customer's electricity provider is PG&E, SoCal Edison, San Diego Gas Electric, or SMUD, the account number must be provided and it must be correct and match the number on the customer's terms and conditions, or else we will need to reject the application. If the answer to yes to whether an electrical upgrade is required, there will be additional questions. For the question, does the customer qualify for equity incentives? The answer needs to be no for new claims. That way, you will not trigger additional dependent questions, which will keep our data accurate. Here are some new questions that are not dependent, but are still important to know, especially the total material costs. We don't need the material costs to be broken out on the invoice and won't be publicly reporting your material costs, but getting accurate numbers here will be important for us to better understand and analyze project costs, which is one of tech's key goals. The full list of all claim fields is available in an Excel workbook on the Heat Pump Water Heater Incentives Single Family Knowledge Base article, and here is a full list of new and updated fields are also discussed in the Relaunch article that was linked in the email sent out to contractors on December the 3rd. The Relaunch article also has instructions on how to resubmit your older claims if you're still completing claims that have valid reservations from a previous round of funding. Thank you for your time. For those that have questions, please direct them to the Q&A section of Zoom and we will do our best to answer them with the time that we have remaining. You can always also contact us at tech.contractor@energy-solution.com. Follow-up information will be emailed out with links to resources shared today. The next webinar presentation is scheduled for December the 12th at 9 a.m.
All right, thank you, everybody. Once again, the Q&A is open for everyone to ask their questions. Please stick around if you want to hear some of these responses. I'll be reading some of them out loud. In the meantime, let's get right to it. I see we have a couple that are typed out. While those are being answered, I'll just read out some common ones. Maybe we can alternate, Laura and Emily, if you want to call out any in particular. But the first one I see is a question about duplex units. They are now considered multifamily. That is correct. And then just
Oh,
keep a lookout. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
sorry, Derek.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, keep going. I heard
Yeah.
it now.
Yeah, I'm just going to answer this one and then you can take over. So I'm just confirming that yes, the duplex units are now considered multifamily, and keep an eye out for more information on that.
Thanks, Derek. I see a question in the chat that I think would be helpful to read out for everyone. A question from Ada. Will we still need to verify on the switches on that the customer's zip code is eligible for incentives? Luckily, this time around, it's a lot more straightforward. So if we only have one budget, right? We don't have territory-specific budgets. That was one of the first things we covered. So once the budget is out, it's out for everyone. But until then, it's available for everyone. So you don't need to be searching if a specific zip code is eligible. And then in terms of whether the customer gets the higher SoCal incentive base rate or the lower NorCal incentive base rate, that's based on their electricity provider. Does anyone else have a question they want to read out? I'm looking to see what else is here. I see a question from Patrick. So the question is the rebate only 3,100 in SDG&E no matter what? No more 3,800? No, we still have the tank size adder. So if the tank is 55 gallons or greater, you get another $700. So that would be $3,800 for a tank size 55 gallons or greater. Another question about terms and conditions signed date eligibility. Yeah, as a reminder, the terms and conditions sign date must be on or after the launch date of 12/10, and the invoice must be dated on or after 12/10. So we cannot have, for example, a terms and conditions dated in November 2024. Other folks can feel free to chime in.
Yeah, thank you, Emily. I might chime in just briefly, just to acknowledge that November 12th date from that question. That pertains to tech HVAC, HVAC and HERA programs. So similar, implemented by the same team, but does not overlap with tech heat pump water heater. Like Emily said, that December 10th date is the pertinent date for heat pump water heater projects. November 12th is always just exclusive to HVAC.
Thanks, Tom. Great clarification. There's a question, is there any kind of testing account we can use so we can practice signing folks up on the demand response program? There's no testing account per se that I can think of, but you can certainly try signing yourself up or any of your staff for any of the eligible demand response program options. We've actually heard from a handful of contractors who signed themselves up for the program before they started recommending it to customers so they could get a sense for themselves of what that sign-up process looks like and then what the participation looks like. And they've found that to be a really successful way to be able to facilitate that with their customers and talk about the benefits with customers. Be sure to check out our demand response requirements knowledge base article. It breaks down some of the most common demand response enrollment choices. For example, there's a program called OhmConnect, which a lot of customers are enrolling in that program, and contractors like to recommend that one. And for that OhmConnect program, there is a way that contractors can sign up for a referral account. So when you use that referral account, you not only get $50 for every customer who signs up with your referral link, but you also can see the customer's enrollment progress once you share your referral link with them. So you can kind of log into your online account and see once they've completed their enrollment. You could actually take a screenshot from inside that account to upload to the claim form rather than asking the customer to forward you their enrollment email, for example. So I know that was a lot, probably answered more than you were asking there, Daniel, but thank you for the question.
And I have a couple that I want to just point out here in the chat. So we have one just asking, will all this information be sent to our emails to refer back to? So a couple notes on that. We will post a recording of this webinar on our Tech YouTube channel to check out. We'll also, we have updated the contractor knowledge base with these updates as well. So be sure to check out that. And then lastly, if there's any more specific Q&A that results from this meeting that we haven't covered in our knowledge base updates thus far, we'll be sure to update that as soon as possible. A great question. And another one I just wanted to point out here was, will there be any type of email notification if a submission needs additional information? I'm assuming that just means correction requests. So yes, we will continue to be sending out weekly correction email notices to folks, but do recommend that you just keep an eye on Iris in the notification center as well to stay on top of those claims. Last one here, I'll also point out, someone asked, what are the dates that Barron will begin requiring customers to be on a TOU rate plan? So they will not actually require that. But if they do submit with the TOU, then the claim may be processed quicker. And so contractors can speed up that processing by providing the customer PG&E bill with the TOU enrollment also included with the tech claims. So this allows the claim to skip the TOU verification step and also allows for a speedier payment timeline. So if the bill with the TOU enrollment is provided, contractors will have until Friday, March 14th, 2025 to submit the claims instead of Wednesday, January 29th. And I know that's a lot of information, so I will also paste that in the answer as well. I see another great question about stacking. So you can stack the tech incentive with other incentive or rebate programs so long as the other program doesn't have any limits. Tech does not have any um, rules along those lines.
Thanks, Lauren. I was going to answer a question about why do we have a different incentive in NorCal versus SoCal while we have one budget for the state. So we have seen a lot more participation and funding that has gone to NorCal so far. And we talked with a lot of contractors and other stakeholders to hear that a lower incentive level in that area would still enable sales. This program is about market transformation with the goal of getting as many installs as possible. And with a lower incentive, we can spread the budget further to achieve greater impacts in NorCal with a lower rate. But that market penetration in SoCal has not been nearly at that level. And we and stakeholders feel that the 3,100 level is still needed to encourage participation in SoCal. Thanks for the question. I'll answer another question. This is an important point. Thank you for the question, Chad. If the utility account holder and invoice payee are different, do they both need to sign the terms and conditions? Yes. So the customer of the project as defined on the terms and conditions is the person on the invoice for the heat pump water heater project. And the utility account holder is pretty straightforward. In some cases, those could be different people, for example, in a rental situation. And if that is the case, they do both need to sign the terms and conditions. The utility account holder would need to sign and respond to the prompts in sections 1 and 2. And then the customer would need to sign and respond to the questions in section 3. Thank you. There's a question from Daniel. Can you walk us through the time of use and DR setup for a customer? For example, we just installed the water heater. Now what happens? Okay, so let's talk about that. Yeah, great question. So for time of use, there are two parts, right? There's the customer enrollment, where the customer's whole utility account needs to be enrolled on a time of use rate. For that one, you're just getting them to agree to that requirement on the terms and conditions, and then we will facilitate that on the back end. But the other part of the time of use requirement is that you do need to set the heat pump water heater up to follow a time of use rate schedule. And that's something that you do right after you install the water heater while you're still on the job site. So you would use the manufacturer app. In most cases, you're going to be working with the customer to set up their app and connect it to the water heater and then follow the remaining steps. For the Ream water heaters, however, you will use the contractor version of the app to do this. And we have all of these details on the knowledge base article called Time of Use Rate Setup for Heat Pump Water Heaters. So once you get that manufacturer app downloaded and connected to the water heater, you're going to follow a few steps to find the customer's time of use rate and select it. And then it's pretty straightforward. The steps are a little bit different for each manufacturer, so really just look at the knowledge base article to see the instructions there. For the demand response rate enrollment, that would ideally be something that the customer does before you even install the water heater, because again, you need to make sure that they did that and get the proof of their enrollment to submit with the incentive claim form. So you're going to want to try to facilitate that earlier on, ideally. And the demand response enrollment does not require that the heat pump water heater has been installed yet. The enrollment for the demand response programs is usually pretty quick. It varies based on the program that the customer chooses or the program that you as the contractor choose for them. And I would encourage you to look at the demand response requirements article for more information on how to help them through that process. For the water heater enrollments requirement, which I'm not sure if you were thinking about that also when you asked the question, that is an application form that the customer will fill out after the water heater has been installed. They'll need to provide some information, such as serial number, for example. I know we're at 9:59. We'll continue to put answers to these questions on our knowledge base articles. But Lauren, is there anything else you want to say before we close out?
No, I don't think so. Just that we will address any of these unanswered questions in our knowledge base if they aren't already. And to check out our YouTube channel, which I put, I think, in one of the answers, if you want to take another look at this recorded webinar. Anyone else on the Frontier team have anything to add? Otherwise, I feel like we are done.
Very happy here, Lauren. Thank
Yep.
you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you all for attending.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.